Welcome back, everybody. We are looking at something a little different, a little unique today. This is a SG System SG100, I think is going to be the model on this. A little hard to find info on these guys. I've got a full schematic I'm going to post over on the free Patreon. This one's making a weird oscillating noise. Probably just needs a service, but there are potentially some complications. This is just going to be an inspection video. This one's going to potentially take some work. So we're going to do a full inspection, give a quote to the customer, and see what they want to do. But there is some interesting stuff to talk about with this amp. Definitely different than an Ampeg V4 or a Fender. So let's dive in a little bit. So I will happily admit I've never seen one of these on the bench before. But it's supposed to be pretty cool sounding amps from the era of having like built-in fuzz circuit and phaser, kind of similar to some acoustics and things like that. But this is a model that's a hybrid, so it has a tube power output, solid state preamp, phaser, fuzzy kind of channel here. It's got this cool notch shift, really cool knobs, cool design. But there are some complications on these amps. Not only are they super rare, so it's hard to find information about them. These were made in conjunction. So SG stands for, as far as I understand it, Standell Gibson. So these were made and designed by, what's his name? Is it Bob Crooks? Let me see. I've got it right here. Yeah, Bob Crooks, who founded Standell Amps and then collaborated with CMI Systems or Gibson in the early 70s. You can see this one is October 3rd, 1973, SG100. And did some solid state amps, and then these later ones were a tube phase inverter with a two power amp or two power tube output section. Now, complication number one, the tubes on here, they sure look like 6L6s or EL84s or something, or EL34s. They are not. These are 8417s. Is that what I have here? Yeah, 8417s. This amp has over 600 volts on the plates and 300 volts on the screens. So we can't just throw, first of all, these tubes to get vintage replacements are about $125, $130 each. Okay. Best bet is to replace these with 6550s or KT88s. Might have to rework some of the bias circuit in order to do that, because the bias circuit only goes to negative 35 volts in this amp. Could be fine as is, and it might totally be okay, but that is one unknown. Second unknown is there's a lot of chips in here in the preamp side that are not off the shelf. These aren't 741s or TLO 82s or anything like that. So we want to make sure that these are all functional. Third thing is just to be at a good starting point with something like this, where it's basically when you play a note, it makes a fuzzy kind of like warble sound. So to be at a good starting place, we may need to just like give this thing a full recap. So I need to quote that because all of these caps are, again, 1973. This video is happening in April of 2026. So what is that? We're at 53 years. Am I doing that math right? I usually don't trust myself to do math after normal work hours, day job work hours. So just to be at a point where now we have to replace one of these power tubes. This power tube, the keyway, is broken off. You can see that it's just totally wiggling there, right? So we're looking at a pair of 6550s plus all of these caps replaced. These guys are film. These are probably fine. This guy, these ones, these blue guys in the phaser. This one's pretty toasty, so this is almost definitely, you probably couldn't see the ones I pointed at in the phaser. Over here, these electrolytics, which might be new, because those are radials. Even all these little guys could potentially be leaky to the point that things are operating strangely. That's one of the things that happens in like some beta amps and things like that. And so we're already, just from like a parts perspective, looking at a relatively high parts cost just to get to a good baseline. Now the other thing is these yellow chiclet guys are actually the same as what's in those Ampeg V4s, and these are kind of notorious for being leaky. So we'll want to pay close attention to these, see if there's any issues there. So basically what's going to happen, I can't fire this thing up until we get a different tube, because the keyway is broken. I don't want to put this thing in wrong and put 600 volts on the wrong side of that tube. It's just not worth the risk. But basically, I think what could be going on is some combination of, now I've tested these caps, a couple of these tested way outside of their bounds, 1000 microfarad. These were measuring about 1500 microfarad, 1340, I think, on one, 1500 and something on the other. A lot of the other ones do test at a good level. One thing about testing caps, you can get a general idea of where they sit in terms of microfarads in circuit. But caps and other components, even resistors too, can break down at their operating voltage and look totally fine at 0 volts. So we really can't trust those capacitance readings from a multimeter where it's sending a very, very small current out to then get a reading back. In fact, there are older tube testers from like the 70s and 80s. You can get like Heath kits for them, where they actually test for DC leakage at operating voltage. We can just do that in the amplifier once we know it's not going to blow up from a short circuit. So, cool to have on the bench, looks cool, but don't necessarily need it. But until we get another tube, or unless I pull those tubes, which I guess we could do. In fact, I'll probably do that to test where the voltages are sitting on some of these capacitors. But this thing, relatively high voltage, I think it's cool. I think it's worth fixing up. These are rare. It's worth throwing some money at, but that's not my decision. I will, in cases like this, happy to work with the customer to keep an amp alive. But that being said, things like this are often a giant can of worms that once you open that lid, there's a lot of issues. So, not too much to show on this at this point, but kind of putting this video out here in case somebody out there knows a lot about these amps or has opinions about 8417 tubes. I did find some good threads on replacing these with 6550s. But this is a new one to me. I have not seen one of these. We'll get a shot of the back panel here too as well, so you guys can see what that looks like. All right, here's our back panel. You can see we have a connector for a foot switch for the phase shifter. Same for the reverb, what they're calling waveform. And this is not good. We need a grommet on there either way. At some point sold in Marysville, Washington. And what else we got? Signal, external speaker. And these are, you can see this guy. broken keyway. No bueno. So always risky plugging a tube back in that has that going on. We can use this one for reference to try to get it in the right position. And I may do that just fired up, but yeah, 8417s. Now these tubes are apparently prone to oscillation because they basically were trying to make a version of an EL34 that could withstand much higher gain. And because of that, the way that the, I believe the grid and the plate had to be so close together that they're prone to oscillation, which honestly, from the video that was sent to me by the customer, that could be all that's going on, that these tubes are starting to fail and are basically creating oscillation that he's hearing as like kind of a ghost note sitting on top of the note he's playing. So we'll see what we can do. If you happen to know much about these, let me know what you think. And if you are looking for more information on these, head over to that free Patreon. All you gotta do is sign up, but it's free. And I will post the full schematic that I found online for this model. There is a model under the same name that is all solid state, but this is the hybrid model. Let's see what we have here. 12AX7. Yeah, looks like it. Okay. And of course, because the V4 storm is unrelenting, we will be back with more Ampeg V4 content sooner than you may think. As always, thanks for watching. Just a short one, just an inspection of a cool vintage amp. Hopefully we'll be diving into this for a full repair, but if not, consider this a glimpse of something rare by CMI Electronics, also known as SG Systems. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one. Okay, so I lied. We have to turn this thing on. It does make a really strange sound. It sounds like it's oscillating and it's very quiet. And I've now got it hooked up. We're on the scope in it with a 200 millivolt sine wave at 1K. Now I'm scoping it at the line out, which is right before the phase inverter. And you can see we have a super clean waveform, so I'm going to adjust the volume here. And we're getting something that looks pretty dang good. We can even turn on our phaser. And we're getting some phasing. The yellow signal is the signal we're sending in. The blue one is what we're measuring. So that's with our phaser on. But we can turn it all off, right? So that's not the issue. Adjusting, we're hooked into this channel. I also got the same results coming out of the normal channel. This one is like the phasey, or sorry, this is like the wet channel. But yeah, again, things are responding in a way where the noise that I'm hearing must be somewhere after this point. Now that points us towards something beyond the phase inverter, because I actually scoped that out too and it looks fine. I think this could just be a power tube issue. So, I'm going to consult with the customer. We'll see what we can do. Yeah, I'm not sure if we're going to want to move through with a... We can get mod caps for all these values and keep things relatively inexpensive for the parts. The power tubes are really the thing that are going to be expensive, because we either have to go with new old stock of the 8417s, which I don't know that I would necessarily even recommend at this point, or we have to modify the bias circuit and put in 6550s, which those tubes are not necessarily cheap either, but this thing has some serious voltage. Let's see what we're reading at the plates here. Gonna have to do this carefully. 331. Let's see. Our bias is negative 21 volts. We're seeing 332. I think stock these are supposed to have closer to something like 600 volts. Let's see. Yeah, that's part of the issue. Maybe somebody modified this to be lower voltage. And or the caps are just not keeping up. And because of that, sorry, I'm just measuring the filter caps and things like that. Could be that we have a failing cap. It's not holding up its end of the deal there. However, if we really only have 300 and something volts on this, we can just throw some EL34s in here. I'm going to have to pull the tubes and double check what those values actually are with no load. Just add the tube socket. Let's see what we get here. 333. 333. Okay. So yeah, diving in further is going to have to wait on this guy, but just had to show you guys a little bit more of what's going on, especially looking at the phaser on the scope. Okay, I lied. We're back one more time, and mostly because I think we found one of our major issues here. So let's take a look at our schematic. We have, as is common, we have to get to a point where we can use lower rated voltage for our capacitors to step up to a higher voltage. These 200 microfarad at 350 volts are split with our balance resistors, right? We've seen this in like Fender amps and other things. C57, C56. Those are these two guys. Now, in the middle here, we should have around 300 volts. And at the top, the positive side of C56, we should have 600 volts. However, let's see what we have. So here, in the middle, we have 334, which connects to the negative side of this one. They stack. This is the most negative point. Goes to here. This is the middle point between these two. So this should be our 300 volts. This should be our 600. And again, 330. That's what we expect. Here we should have 600. 332. Something is not doing its job here. So either one of those balance resistors has failed, but most likely this cap is going out. Okay. And if we're not getting up to the 600 volts that those power tubes expect, that's going to be a problem. They're going to do weird stuff. We're going to get low volume, and maybe they're going to oscillate or sound weird. Sound real farty and strange. Okay, so yeah. Going to need a recap, but we will, again, consult with the customer, see what they want to do. And we'll either be back with more of a repair on this, or at the very least, this was a cool look at a weird amp. All right, last one, for real, not coming back. Hope you're having a good night.